So this is a video for Physics 20. We're looking at circular motion and in particular velocity in circular motion. So it's important to remember that velocity is the change in distance over the change in time. So if we look at this, we can see that this pebble, it's stuck in a tire, and it travels this distance in this given time. But if you remember the last video where we talked about period, we often talk about the time for one cycle, right? The period, t, is the time for one cycle. And so if I adapt this equation, I can put, okay, there's the period. So the time for one cycle. Well, how far is one cycle? Well, one cycle is the circumference of the circle. And remember, the circumference is the distance around a circle. Not cycle, circle. And so we can calculate the circumference by going either pi d, and that's d for diameter, or we can look at 2 pi r. And so the most common way of describing circular motion, or the velocity for circular motion, is pi r squared over t, the period. So the circumference divided by the period. One of the things about the velocity is notice that the velocity vector here is a straight line, and it's a straight line here. And one of the great diagrams I like out of the textbook is it shows here's the water, it comes up and it gets stuck, it sticks to the tire, but at some point it's not quite enough and the drops come flying up, and that's why we would end up with our wet back end. And so that's why we always try to, if you do much cycling, you want to have that fender there. And so just to remember it's important to remember that the velocity is acting tangentially to the circle. So tangentially like this, it's at a right angle to the radius of the circle. So now let's look at an example. So this is from the textbook. A pebble is stuck in the treads of a tire at a distance of 36 centimeters from the axle. It takes 0.40 seconds for the wheel to make one revolution. What is the speed at the pebble at any instance in time? So remember that we have to discern, are we using the period or are we using the radius? And if it's from the axle is the center, and so the distance that we've been given is a radius. So we have the radius, and it must be converted into meters. So there are 100 centimeters in a meter, which means we take our centimeters and divide it by 100, so we get 0.36 meters for our radius. We're told the time it takes for one revolution. That gives us our period. As soon as we're told it's for one cycle, we know it's our period. So we can calculate the velocity for circular motion using 2 pi r, all divided by the period. So 2 times pi times the radius of 0.36 meters, all divided by 0.40 seconds. Calculate that out, and we come to two significant digits of 5.7 meters per second. The velocity, or speed of the pebble, can't spell today, pebble, in the tire tread is 5.7 meters per second. And so this is not complicated, but certainly worthy of some practice, and here are some practice questions for you out of both the textbook and out of the workbook. Thanks, and we will talk to you.